if people actually did research, most people in public school are actually, most kids are not on track, unfortunately,
Exactly,
because
that's
these public
true.
schools are, the classrooms are overwhelmed. There's
Mm-hmm.
35 kids to one teacher. There are plenty of children who are not getting the education that they deserve. And like, that's no flack to the parents, because the parents are only doing what they're, they have access to, or like what they're able to do.
Like, how do you handle days when it just doesn't go as planned? Like, especially like as homeschooling, how do you
We just
handle
be
it?
done. We be done. And
That's
that's that.
it.
Yeah, because I'm not, because I feel like I feel like a lot of people who homeschool, most
Mm-hmm.
of us went to public school, and so there's kind of, and this is not anything against people who send their kids to public school at all. I think for us personally who have chose to homeschool, there's a bad taste in our mouth from our own experiences in public school. And
Yeah.
it was like stressful, and it didn't need to be stressful. So for me, that's like, it just happened the other day. None of us were having a good day when it came to doing school. And I was like, okay, goodbye, we're done. Because I'm not going to ruin the relationship I have with my kids over doing stuff in homeschool. I'm not going to do that. Like, we can
Yeah.
pick, if we need to do an extra day, because we don't do school on Fridays, but like if we have a bad day and we need to do an extra day, cool. There's been times we've picked it up on the weekend just because we could.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't feel like, I don't know. I just don't feel like it's necessary for them to be stressed and for me to be stressed and pissed
Exactly.
off because of a math problem. We're not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the day, if there's just stuff going on, and we're all not like, there are plenty of times where none of us wake up on the right side of the bed, and it just happens because we're human beings. And I just let them feel that. I let my kids express that and feel that, and I'm like, all right, well, let's just hang out, like, it's okay,
And
and
that's
that,
the beauty of homeschool. You can
right.
you imagine like you waking up, none of y'all on the right side of the bed, and you gotta rush to bring your kids to school. Like your kids are not happy. So I feel
Oh,
like that's the beauty of homeschool and being a stay-at-home mom with your kids.
yeah, exactly, because when my oldest, she did go to public school.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we lived in Indiana, she started kindergarten there, and I kid you not, every morning before I would drop her off, we'd be in the drop off line, and she would throw up
Oh,
because she was so anxious. It was just anxiety, and she couldn't like express it in
wow.
any other way. Yeah, and I was like, this is a problem. Like, I felt so bad, and I just didn't know what to do. And that was before we had started homeschooling, and I was
Mm-hmm.
still of the mindset, like, I felt weird, like, if I were to take her out of school and homeschool her, I felt like I couldn't do it. So, she went through that a lot. And then when we first moved here, she was still in public school, and there was just, I remember having conferences, and at this point she was in, I think, second grade, and she still couldn't read.
Okay.
And I had been working with her at home as much as I could. Had my other daughter at the time, she was little, so there was just like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of moving parts. And I'm talking to the teachers trying to figure out what it is that we can do as a collective to like get her on track, because she wasn't. And they
Mm-hmm.
would just like, oh, like give me excuses and then be like, but she has a great personality. And I'm like, okay, I know this because I
Mm-hmm.
made her. I know she's got a good personality, but like, what are we gonna do to get her where she needs to go? And then I just realized that's when I started to realize, I'm like, this is just not this is not gonna
That's
work.
not it. Yeah.
And then the pandemic happened, and I was like, all right,
Oh, that was your
that's it. Yeah,
okay. And how has that transition been for your kids?
they love it.
They're like, okay.
Yeah, they love it. Like, I've asked her a couple of times, like, if she wants to go back to school. She's always said no. There are times she says yes, but she's honest that the only reason she's saying that is for to have more friends.
Okay.
Yeah, like, because we do have a pretty big homeschool community, but a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the are scattered in age. So her perspective is like, especially being 13 now, she's like wanting to have those more teenage experiences. And
Yeah.
so like, because they've got a friend across the street who is almost 12. So they and then they're still sharing friends, and she wants to break away from sharing friends with her little sister.
Mm. Okay, that
So
makes
that's
sense.
her, that's, yeah. So we're trying to get involved in like different things where there's more kids just closer to her age, so
Mm-hmm.
that way she's got that separation, because I do think that she should have friends her own age, and like that she doesn't have to share with her sister, because I'm an only child, so I don't get it necessarily, but I see it and I've heard it from other people who have siblings. Like sometimes it sucks having to share friends with your siblings. So
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And I feel
yeah,
like that also is probably one of the hesitations of parents wanting to homeschool is that, oh, my kid's gonna miss out with, the experience of being in in high school or
right.
public school, whatever.
Like
And
socialization.
yeah,
Yeah. And
but
but I feel like that's so closed-minded to say,
okay.
because
Mm-hmm.
I remember getting in trouble for talking in school.
Okay.
They don't want you to socialize in school. So what, like, I understand being able to be around your friends, but as far as socialization goes, there are so many other ways
Exactly.
to like kids than just sending them to public school. And again,
Yeah.
not knock anyone who does it. I'm not
Yeah.
here to say like how dare you send, like, do what you have to do for
Mhm.
yourself, but also don't put all homeschoolers in a box to say, well, your kids aren't socialized. Because listen, I went to public school and I'm way less socialized than my kids.
Exactly.
The
And there's a lot
way
of
that,
anxiety.
yes, my anxiety is so, like, we'll go, like, we just started meeting with, me and my friend just started meeting with a bunch of other homeschool moms. The way all the moms were just like sitting there, like, is it
Hmm.
safe to talk? Our kids immediately, they didn't even know each other. Our kids immediately ran and started being friends. So
Yeah.
kids are very socialized. I'm the one that's not, and I went to public school my entire school career. So,
Yeah.
up from a point, I was homeschooled for a small amount of time, but when it counted, I was in public school.
I
So,
that's one of the differences that I've seen myself. Like to me, they seem a little bit more social, more confident. I'm not saying
mhm,
public school kids are not because I'm one
right,
myself, but I do
yeah,
see a difference.
mhm,
So it's interesting that you mentioned that. But what has been the most challenging part? And I'm asking these questions for those because I know like there's people that are considering it. I
yeah,
myself,
right,
so for you that's been doing it for a minute, like what
mhm,
has been the most challenging part of homeschooling? Aside for like, your daughter not probably feeling like she has that friend, but
yeah.
like you homeschool your toddler, right?
Yeah, we just kind of start. I would say we loosely homeschool, because I'm not
Uh-huh,
gonna
yeah,
make
for
him
sure.
sit,
Mm-mm.
for the entire, like, he'll sit with us for maybe 15, 20 minutes, and then he's like, all right, I gotta go, and I let him go. I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
make him like do anything rigorous. He's just learning
Exactly.
just basic stuff. But yeah, I think there's two things. I think it is navigating the different levels. So having to bounce back between like third grade
Mm,
and like seventh grade, like that's tough sometimes. Because like my oldest is at a point where she pretty much does all her work independently.
okay.
But then I'm working with my third grader exclusively for the most part. And then I've got to do things with my toddler too, when he's able to sit with
Yeah.
us. And then finding the right curriculum.
Mm,
So I feel like I've started to come back to piecing together my own stuff.
okay.
Um, because in the beginning I did that and then I got overwhelmed because there's just so much to choose from. But I think now I have a good gauge on what I'm okay with using and what I'm not. And I'm trying to think
Mhm.
about how I feel like there are a lot of really good options. Um, but they bring in certain views on things that
Mhm.
I feel like should be taught separately if we're going to
Okay.
go over that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Um because in the beginning I was using things and I was like, oh, this is fine, we can navigate around it, but you can't navigate around it. So I feel like it should just be a whole separate thing outside of like our core stuff. So I think the curriculum has been a huge, that has been like or it was a big struggle
Mhm.
for like trying to figure out what I wanted to use and like figuring out what fit, because you could easily buy one full curriculum for all your kids, but not all of them learn the same, so it
Same.
might not work for them. So like my kids are using different things completely.
Okay.
I say for a long time we were just using one straight curriculum
Mhm.
for both of them, and it was a struggle. It really was a struggle. I was stressed, they were stressed, they weren't grasping the information, and I'm like, I don't know how else to explain this, and really it just boiled down to I needed to change it, and they don't
Mhm.
have to use the same thing, and that's fine.
Yeah, I hear you because I've seen that to be a common struggle because at one time I entered like a homeschooling Facebook group and that's like the
Hmm.
main question I was seeing. what curriculum do you use? What do you use?
Yeah.
What do you use?
Hmm.
Like, I'm like, is it really that difficult to find one that is geared to, I guess, your kids?
Hmm.
But maybe it depends on like your values and what you really
Yeah,
want.
I think it definitely depends on that. I also feel like homeschool, because it's starting to become more mainstream, there are a lot, just like what we're seeing on social media, where people are portraying a certain type of lifestyle that feels
Mm-hmm.
unattainable. I feel like there are
Oh,
certain creators that are doing that with homeschool. And
that
that's
makes
something
sense.
that bothers me, because I've also been on the other side of the screen where I'm envious and I see somebody's like homeschool room, and I see
Mm,
somebody's like curriculum that they're using, and they lay out their day and they're like, oh my God, in our day we do this, and it's not perfect.
yeah.
I've literally had a homeschool room. We turned our dining room in our last house into a homeschool room. And I've also had a homeschool shelf.
Okay.
And the kids were learning the same in a homeschool room or using the homeschool shelf. Like, there's no difference. And
Wow.
so I think that that discourages a lot of people too, because they're like, I can't do that. Like, I don't have
Hmm.
that. I can't do it. And then these people are sharing curriculums, and it's freaking $400. And like, you don't need that. You really
Exactly.
don't need that to get started. So there are certain things that I'll just use Chat GPT for. Like, we have books and stuff that I've wanted to do like book studies on,
Hmm.
and I literally go and I'll take pictures of each page for the chapter, and I ask Chat GPT to make me like questions, or I'll be like, I want grammar questions, or I want, we need to do sentence work, and it makes it for me, and then there we go. That's
Wow.
free. Like, you can pay for Chat GPT. Obviously, that's not free if you want to, pay for it, but to make your curriculum, it's free. you know
Wow.
there's just so many resources that I feel
Exactly.
like people could use, to make them feel more confident. And I think social media plays a huge role in making
Definitely.
people feel like they can't do it,
Exactly.
because
And
it's like a show.
I had a question for you because you said you use ChatGPT to get the
Hmm.
questions. How would you feel if your kids use ChatGPT to answer the questions?
Oh, I don't have a problem with that,
Oh,
because
you
to me
have a
that's
problem?
teaching. No, that's teaching research skills, the way that I look at it.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm like,
that makes sense.
because it's giving them like, and that's the thing, because that did take a while for me to be like, okay, they can use,
Mm-hmm.
Google and stuff to search, but I'm like, they're practicing research skills. Like,
Mm,
knowledge is infinite, and that's another reason why I feel like I'm not gonna ruin our day over them not having a good day doing school. Like, we're going to be done, because they're not going to stop learning. I'm
okay.
still learning at 33.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I didn't even know when I was in school, and I didn't learn till now. So I don't feel like, and this is not to say like, and I know people are going to be like, oh, well, you're just being lazy because, you're not trying to keep your kids on track. My kids are on track. What's the gauge for my kids not being on track also?
Mm-hmm.
Because if people actually did research, most people in public school are actually, most kids are not on track, unfortunately,
Exactly.
because
That's
these public
true.
schools are, the classrooms are overwhelmed. There's
Mm-hmm.
35 kids to one teacher. There are plenty of children who are not getting the education that they deserve, and like, that's
Mm-hmm.
no flack to the parents, because the parents are only doing what they have access to, or like what they're able to do. So, like, everybody, we're going to keep learning. So I just, when people say that, like, oh, well, what grade are you in, or are you on track? Why?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
To
Because,
compare.
yeah, like, I'm not going to compare. And I have that thought sometimes. I'm like, what if? But no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to compare. I'm not going to compare. So I feel like I said a lot, but no, I don't have a problem with them using like Chat GPT. We use Chat GPT together sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with them like going on their iPads and stuff and like searching up questions or
Okay.
answers to things. I let my oldest use a calculator,
Mm-hmm.
because I use a calculator.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of math that I'm not able to do mentally, and I never was able to do mentally. So why would I deny her that? you
Exactly.
know,
So what advice would you have for parents and like moms that want to homeschool? What advice? Because
do
mm-hmm.
do it really. And I know that sounds so simple, but
Mm-hmm.
that's because it is. Like, there are so many resources out there that are affordable or free. Like, you can just start with the basics. You could literally start with, if you have a young, like, a toddler, start with flashcards from the Dollar Tree, because that's what I did. You can make your own flashcards, because I actually was looking through my camera roll, and I have pictures of when I used to make my daughter like posters and stuff. I didn't, this was year, she was 1,
Mm-hmm.
and I had construction paper and like clear tape, and I would write things on the construction
Yeah.
paper, and then I just put the clear tape over it because I didn't have a laminator or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
Wow.
yeah, take a little more effort and a little more work, but like it's doable because, and the way that I like to think about it too is like, what were people doing way back before they were,
Mm-hmm.
like school was a thing? They were teaching their kids at home with whatever they had,
Exactly.
and it wasn't much. So I mean, like I went through a phase where I was like trying to buy all the fancy like counters and stuff like that. And we do have certain counters that we use like for math, but I
Mm-hmm.
use I have a jar of black beans, and I have
I
a
see
like
that too.
yeah, it's like, and then I have like this little silicone like egg mold that I don't use, and I let
Mhm.
her use that for her counters. Like it's just stuff like that. It starts at home, and
Exactly.
I wish that when I started, I hadn't have like overthought everything, because I definitely did,
Mm,
and I felt like I needed to have everything, and then I got overwhelmed, and then now I'm back to realizing I didn't need all that.
exactly.
So yeah, just do it and just start. You just have to start. Start
Hmm.
with ChatGPT.
Shout out to
That's an easy
ChatGPT.
one. Yeah.
Shout out. All right. And like, so how beneficial, to sum it up, how beneficial have you seen it to be towards your kids? And yeah.
I just feel like they are so able to be their own people. And I
Okay.
think that's such a big thing, because I think, at least what I see a lot online, is people from like our generation have struggled so hard with like self identity,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of reason because of the way that we were raised. And I feel like that is one of the biggest things that I've been able to give my kids, is like autonomy over their self, like to be able to express themselves in a way that suits them, be in a safe space, and just be who they want to be, and not feel like they have to follow a trend or be put in a box to be something because everybody else is doing that. Because I definitely felt that way in high school and middle school too.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the trends and all, like if you didn't have the coolest clothes or the coolest shoes, like people made you feel some type of way about that. And my kids
Exactly.
don't feel that way. Like they're just like,
That's
yeah,
beautiful.
I like this is what I want to do. And I
Yeah.
want that for them. And so I think that's been the biggest benefit to being able to be at home with them and be able to homeschool them.
And live their childhood the way you
Yeah,
want, as the best that you want them to have.
exactly.
That's beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel like that's worth it, right?
For sure. That trumps everything for me, because
Exactly.
there's a lot going on in the world, and
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine how parents who are, unable to be home with their kids, how they feel
Mm-hmm.
having to send their kids anywhere really. And I hate that for those parents, and
Exactly.
it's hard, I'm sure.